Alrighty, how's it going? Welcome back to episode one of the Under Further Review podcast slash talk show. I guess whatever you want to say. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. Um, I'm your host. You guys can call me Benny. Today we're gonna be going over the 2026 pre-training camp AFC divisional rankings. I will do the NFC here shortly. You can ignore the power rankings right now. They're just in division order. Gonna go through each division, talk for a little bit. I'm gonna try and do it all off the head, so I'm open to criticism. I'm gonna forget a lot of stuff. I'm no professional, so open to criticism, open to debate. Um, we'll just start up here in the north and work our way through. Um, the North is interesting. A couple years ago, they were considered one of the best, if not the best, divisions in the NFL, and the fall off has been quite something. I think to me, the one and the two are kind of interchangeable. It just depends on who you talk to between Baltimore and Cincinnati. I think, though, what I'm going to do is I have to put Baltimore at the one. Especially in the North, I have to give it to the better defense. I still think there's a lot of questions around the Bengals defense. They traded for Dexter Lawrence, was it, right? And I just don't think that moves the needle. I think Baltimore has a lot better defense. I think they're just as good of an offense when healthy. I think there's still some questions around their wide receiver group. Can Zay Flowers continue to be that guy? He's gotten better and better. And then can Jacoby Lane make an impact on day one? Um, so yeah, I think that right now I have Baltimore at my one, and then Cincinnati at my two. And it just comes back to being healthy too. Can Joe Burrow stay healthy? Because if Joe Burrow doesn't stay healthy, just the Bengals with the healthy Joe Burrow versus without a healthy Joe Burrow are two very, very different teams. So I mean that offense is beyond better when Joe Burrow is healthy, and I think that's something to factor in there too. I think the three, obviously Pittsburgh. Um, it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to have a very decent offense this year under Mike McCarthy, but they're only going to go as far as Aaron Rodgers will take them. They upgraded their receiving core, drafting Jeremy Bernard and adding Michael Pittman. Signing Rico Dowdle. It's going to complement Jalen Warren well. It sucks that they lost Kenneth Gainwell. Obviously, the Mike Tomlin departure, how's that going to affect him? Can Mike McCarthy fill that gap? And this is one where I've seen a lot of people thinking that, the team's not going to be very good. Are they going to be, for the first time in how long, under 500? And I think that's what they need. I think when you're Pittsburgh, in order to progress as a franchise, you need to get worse to get better. You can't continue to be mid, draft and, pick 22 beyond, be first round exits every year and not draft a difference maker. I think in order to progress, you got to get that guy, and to get that guy, you got to have a top 10 draft pick. Cleveland to round it out, losing Myles Garrett. Big talk of the offseason out of the North, losing Myles Garrett. Is Shador going to start? Is Deshaun Watson going to start? I think it's going to be Deshaun. I still don't think it really matters. I think they're the worst team in the North. I think they're the worst team in the North by a mile. Moving on to the East here. I'm going to put... I don't know. I think that the Patriots last year were a schedule merchant, if that's what you want to say. I don't think that team was as good as the record provided. I mean, did they make the Super Bowl? Yes, but they also had one of the easiest, if not the easiest, regular season schedules, and then their path to the playoffs. Played C.J. Stroud in a game where C.J. Stroud was historically awful. I mean, bad. And then they play Denver without Bo Nix. And then they finally go and play the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, and it just really wasn't a game. I mean, it was a game, but it wasn't. The Seahawks were in control the whole time. I think and I don't think they really did much to move the needle. I don't think AJ Brown is gonna be that guy. I think you saw that in his last couple rounds there, years there in Philly. I think Devontae Smith kind of overtook him, and I think you could tell. I mean, that offense as a whole took a hit last year. They weren't as good as they were 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. Um, I'm gonna put Josh Allen and the Bills at 1 in the East. I think right now with the DJ Moore trade, you get Josh Allen a wide receiver. He hasn't had a true wide receiver or a true weapon out wide, I should say, since Diggs left and gone to New England. I think the Patriots are your 2 there. Um, Now 3 and 4. I the Dolphins lose Tua. They lose Jalen Waddle. That defense was not good last year, but the Jets wasn't either. The Jets was the only team, was it, without an interception last year. The Jets had a really good draft. The Jets won the draft. I mean, they were one of, the winners out of this year's draft. Um, they draft Omar Cooper, draft Kenyon Sadiq. They took that edge. What edge was it? David Bailey. I correct me if I'm wrong. They took, I think it was Bailey out of Texas Tech. They won the draft, and if those rookies can make a difference, you're going to have Garrett Wilson. You're going to have Brees Hall. I think that O line's going to get better. But like Pittsburgh quarterback play, is Geno Smith going to lead them? I think Miami Dolphins have the better quarterback in Malik Willis, but who's Malik Willis's weapon? Devon Achane? Is he going to be able to sustain a workload over the course of a season with really no threat out wide? They're going to run the ball a lot. I think it's hit or miss. I think just because the Jets are the Jets, I'm gonna put the Jets at 4, put the Dolphins at 3. But I think that could change very quickly if those rookies in New York can make a difference. When I move on to the South down here, um, there's mid, very mid. The Colts, I shouldn't say mid. Jacksonville is good. I think Jacksonville's your clear cut 1 out of the South. Houston 2. Can Brian Thomas Jr. bounce back? Can Travis Hunter take a jump? You lose ETN, but Bishal Tutton, I think I said that right. I think it's going to be a workhorse for him this year. That defense is good. The Houston defense is elite, though, in terms of the defensive category, but CJ Stroud, can he replicate what he did his rookie year? You're going to have Nico Collins. They signed, or not signed, but they trade for Demo, right? Montgomery. I think will be your workhorse this year. I think Woody Marks will go back to an RB2 role, which I think is where he belongs. I think the RB1 workload was a lot for him last year, right? Last year was Mark's rookie year. The Nick Chubb signing didn't work out. But offensive play, can this offense score enough and stay on the field enough to get, to keep their defense fresh? Their defense is elite. I mean, like, that goes without saying. You got Stingley, Alshire, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, right? Is Danielle Hunter in Houston? I mean, that defense is elite. I think the Tennessee Indy debate is a lot closer than people think. I don't think JT is going to be what he was weeks 1 through 10 last year. I wouldn't say fluke, because that's never really a fluke when you have, like you're that good. Like he took over. Like, that offense was at a whole different level when he was that guy, like weeks 1 through 10, 1 through 11 last year. But I don't think that's sustainable this year. You saw it last year. I don't think you're going to see that kind of production from JT. Daniel Jones, is he going to be ready, right? Tore his Achilles last year. You lose Michael Pittman and the Alec Pierce signing, which reset the wide receiver market. That Alec Pierce signing was just wow. Tyler Warren, one of the best rookie tight ends. I think he's one of, the most promising tight ends in the league coming up. You have Sauce Gardner. Because of that, I think I still have to put Indy above Tennessee. But I'm excited to see what Tennessee looks like this year. Kim Ward gets a weapon in Carnell Tate's run game still. Tony Pollard, I think your RB1 there. Can the O line get better? They signed Wandale Robinson, right? So Wandale Robinson and Carnell Tate's going to be two new weapons for Cam Ward to throw the ball to. That defense, Jeff Simmons up front. Um, who else is on this Tennessee defense that can um, provide, that can make a difference? I think Tennessee, they're still a year or two away from being in top of the AFC South competition, but I think Cam Ward should take a jump. I think you'll know if Cam Ward's legit or not this year. He's going to have two better weapons. The run game's, still going to be hit or miss in my opinion, but I think, all right, I just pasted the cool twice. Sorry about that. Um, but I think, it's still hit or miss on, um, or sorry, I think you'll know this year if Cam Ward is going to be that guy or if he's still going to be hit or miss. He's going to have two better weapons. And yeah, lost my train of thought after fucking up the South rankings. AFC West, Chiefs. Can the Chiefs get back to being what they were? The Raiders, Fernando Mendoza, Ashton Jinty, Brock Bowers, no wide receiver. Who's on that defense? Max Crosby. The Max Crosby trade didn't go through. Denver. I think Denver is your clear cut one there still. I think they're healthy. They trade for Jalen Waddle. Um, J.K. Dobbins coming back. Who was the rookie they had last year? R.J. Harvey. That defense, PS2 is elite. Can that defense get back to what they were a couple years ago? They're going to have one of the better secondaries. But, stay healthy. Can they stay healthy? I think the same goes for the Kansas City Chiefs. What's Patrick Mahomes going to be the first couple weeks of the season? Is he going to be 100%? Is Rashu Rice going to be 100%? They signed Kenneth Walker. I think that's going to be big for him. The Kansas City's been a team, the past couple of years that hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver, that hasn't had a 1,000-yard rusher. They let Trent McDuffie go, but they drafted Mansour Delane in the first round, and I feel like they had a second first-round pick as well last year, or not last year, this year. Cam Mansour Delane making an impact on that defense from day one. I think the Chiefs, I'm going to put at the 3. I think I'm going to put the Chargers ahead of them. Can Lad McConkey get back to that year one production that you saw from him? Justin Herbert, Amarian Hampton. Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball. You have Amarian Hampton. He's going to be a workhorse this year. He's going to be very good. I think Amarian Hampton's going to be very good. Can that O-line take the next step? On that defense, you still have Derwin James. He's good. Jim Harbaugh teams are always good. I mean, you saw that at Michigan. You saw that when he was in San Francisco. Even the other Harbaugh coach teams are usually very good. I shouldn't say very good, but they're good. They're well coached. Las Vegas, still Las Vegas. Ashton Genty, he's another rookie or sophomore. Can he take that sophomore jump? Can he progress? Fernando Mendoza, it's tough for rookie quarterbacks to come in and succeed anymore in the NFL. Can he though be that guy? You're gonna have Brock Bowers. Can Brock Bowers get back to being Brock Bowers? They have a solid O line. They signed Tyler Linderbaum, center for Baltimore. I think he's good. He's good. I think that's going to be a better O line. They were already a good O line. It's going to be a better O line. So I don't think that's going to be the issue. The issue is going to be weapons. You're going to have an RB. You're going to have a good tight end. But what are your wide receivers going to give you there in Vegas? And I think when I come down here and I look at the power rankings, it's gonna go ahead and just clear this while I have the opportunity. Um, 1. Like if I had to pick right now who's going to the Super Bowl, I I'm gonna go with the Bills. I'm gonna go with the Bills. I think that offense is gonna be tough. I just think they really are good running back. They've got a wide receiver. Josh Allen's Josh Allen. Can their defense be good enough? Yeah, that's the key word. They're good enough to where the offense can take over. I think two, and I think close is going to be Denver. Denver got the win over Buffalo in the or AFC divisional last year. Um, and I think they're the two. I think the North is the North's champion is going to be the worst out of the champions. I think Jacksonville I would put above Baltimore right now. I think Baltimore rounds out your top four there. Like I think if the postseason were to start week 1, these would be your 1 through 4, and these would be your teams hosting a home game. I think two. I think 5, 6, and 7. They're kind of all interchangeable. I think Cincinnati gets back. I'm gonna put them at 6. Um, I think the Chargers or Texans you could put over them. I'm not ready to put the Pats over them. In this case, I like the Texans a little bit better than the Chargers. I think you put the Texans over the Bengals there at the 5, and I think to round it out, I put the Chargers below them there. I think that these would be your playoff teams if the season were to end and right away and the playoffs start to week 1. I think these are your playoff teams. I think Buffalo makes it out. I think they're the best team in the AFC. I don't think it's as close as people think. And I could be wrong. I'm more than happy to hear people's opinions on this. Give me the Chiefs to be the first team out. Um, I think that the West is the deepest out of the AFC. Um, I think it's just there's a lot of them. I think it's just a matter of being healthy. I think if Mahomes can get back, if Rashee Rice can get back, you're gonna have Kenneth Walker. Can Kenneth Walker stay healthy for a year? Um, I think they're the first team to miss the cut this year. You lose a key defensive player, one of the best quarters in the league, in Trent McDuffie. Um, like I said, I think your Pats go at 9. I don't think you're gonna see these guys until the very end. These might be the bottom 2 teams in the league. So I'm going to go ahead and fill them in there. And that's no disrespect to these teams. I just don't think they have enough there in the tank. And I think the Browns round out the bottom 3. And Tennessee goes right before Cleveland. I think Cam Ward's going to take a jump. Like I said, I'd put the Colts maybe at 11, put Pittsburgh over them just because of experience. I think it's a veteran team in Pittsburgh. I'm not high on Mike McCarthy, struggled in Dallas there. And I think to round it out, you got the Raiders.